Hello. So this is going to be some of my economics books. I think, yeah, the next shelf is finance. So these are the economics books. There might be some overlap because I've since gotten a lot of gifts, and I tend to show my book haul videos as library tours. So some of those book haul videos, or some book haul books, are going to be in this stack, but most of these books won't be. So the first one is Modern Economic Growth Introduction. This is the guy who wrote his name. I think he wrote Why Nations Fail. He's a very famous Turkish economist. And I think he was in the JHP Super Party thing that was announced by İmamoğlu. I have no space on my desk. The Foundations of Behavioral Economic Analysis. This is a very fat book. Good book though if you want to go through it. Has a lot of the core ideas in here, and has a lot of linear equations to explain the core ideas. Very great book. Put that over here. The next book is Six Sigma, the handbook. This is like a manufacturing book. There's one. This one's very famous, and then there's another one that's done in Japan by Toyota called like Lean something, Lean manufacturing or something like this. That's another famous manufacturing process. I guess what is this, like cost accounting plus productivity analysis? I guess you could say it's like that. Next book is Make, Think, Imagine, Engineering the Future of Civilization. From what I understand, this book is meant to argue that the foundations to society have always been and will always be engineers, which is people who build things and make things, and that's what progresses society, and that's what determines whether society slows down or not. I agree with that to some extent. I do think that engineers are a major component to society. I want to say at least like 60% of that pie belongs to engineers. Money, exchange rates, and output. So this was a book I got to read about Forex. I was going to consider doing Forex, just like long-term investment, simply because I've never done it. When I say Forex, just mean foreign exchange. Making money off of foreign exchange. I've never done it seriously before. Like I've done it accidentally where like I happen to have been holding another currency that went up in value to where I was living. Yeah, so that's why I got this book. I just wanted to try doing Forex, and I'll probably do it at some point. Retailing in Emerging Markets, in second edition. This was a great book for understanding retail. I had some retail stocks, but since then my notion of retail stocks has changed a little bit, and I'm not a big fan of retail companies anymore. Simply because they have way too much money being wasted, which means less money comes to the investor, aka me. From Keynesianism to Monetarism, The Evolution of UK Macroeconomic Models. This is a very interesting book. I haven't read it yet, but I love books that go over like the MMT, like the modern monetary theory versus Keynesian debate. This is very fun. Dirty Little Secrets of Family Business. I wanted to study like generational wealth and how that went on, and I saw this book. I thought, well, yeah, that's interesting. What are some interesting insights in generational wealth? That was the purpose of that book. A Theory of Income Distribution. I was in a used bookstore in Toronto, and I asked them where their economics section was, and this book was in there, and it actually seems like such a little gem, because whoever wrote this book has a very strong understanding of all the primary sources, not just like textbook level economics, but they've clearly read the primary sources. So I'm glad I got this book. So this book I got for just basically someone I know who was really into Six Sigma, and I was gonna gift them this. I never got around to it. Maybe I can read it. I don't know. It's very small. Triumph of the City. I thought this is a. I saw this book twice in the bookstore before I bought it. On the one time I saw it, I thought, well, that's not that interesting of a book. Then the second time I saw it, I looked a little bit closer and I thought, oh, okay, so this is like a argument for why cities are better for humanity in general. That he makes claims that they pollute less, that they're more efficient with resources, that they facilitate cooperation, so on and so forth. So every time I hear about cities, I hear trash talking. So that would be an interesting book to read. The Rise and Fall of American Growth, the U.S. Standard of Living Since the Civil War. This is a terrific book, because you always hear people talk about like the fall of America, and this is why it's going to fall. And so, for example, one stat that was often cited is like the decline on the nominal growth of wages. So the nominal growth of wages has been consistently going down. So if you work 35 hours a week, the year after, so next year, your 35 hours will earn less money. It has been going down year over year due to inflation. Yeah, and this book goes over that stuff, and it does a more holistic picture. It doesn't just cite a single stat, which is really, really great. It gives you also a grander picture. A lot of people make their economic analysis off the past 10 years. I feel like realistically it should always be off the past 100 to 80. 10 years is too short. There's too much variability in a 10-year period. So that is a great book. The Next Decade, Empire and Republic, The Changing World. I definitely got this book because I was in the bookstore and I didn't know what the hell to buy. I was in a mainstream bookstore and I didn't know what to buy, so I bought this. And I don't like the cover whatsoever, but I think the content of the book is going to be really good. But the cover threw me off. I think it goes over the different, basically, events that have happened in the last 10 to 20 years, and it's trying to predict what's going to happen in the next decade. Now, when he says next decade, I believe most of the stuff that he predicted already came not to be true, but it will still be an interesting analysis. Let's see, where was this published? Did I skip it? No, I didn't skip it. I think it was published in like 2012. Yeah, 2012. So I'll be able to see if he was right or wrong. Malthus, an essay on the principle of population. I don't know why this is in economics. To be honest, this should be in ecology. But at the same time, everybody in economics talks about it. So this is a good book. It's a very short one. It's basically essays. And this is where you get like the idea of Malthusian disaster. A lot of his ideas have not bore to fruition. They're not super strong, empirically speaking. Some of them maybe work for single cell populations or like little bacterial growths, but they don't really work for humans. Human Action, A Treatise on Economics by Ludwig von Mises. This is a great book. Even if you disagree with him, it's a great book because it really explains a viewpoint in economics that is not often talked about explicitly, like in a meta way, like the epistemological problems of human action. What he's kind of explaining here is his viewpoint is to like start with like, in the same way like a philosopher would start with like the mind, he starts kind of with like human psychology or like the agent, and it builds up to a bigger economic picture from this agent perspective. That's what he does here. He starts with an agent perspective and builds up, which is also why he's against this centralized planning, because centralized planning presumes a little bit of blank slatism about the agents. It's a thick book, but it's definitely worth the read. Well, I have a lot of economics books here. Near and Middle East economics. I did school for that, so wait, I have another shelf. Okay, yeah, I have a lot of economics books. Near Middle East Economic Handbook. This is really expensive, actually. But I'm glad for this book. I'd like to track the overall progress of the Middle East in general. So whenever I can find handbooks like this, like Middle Eastern Handbook of International Politics or or sorry, international affairs, or if I can find an economic development of the Middle East. These are great. This one was expensive, but it's wonderful to see like Azerbaijan import export. And I've also informed some of my investing strategies based off this book. So it's a wonderful little book. Although it's soon going to be not relevant if you want to get super up to date information. I usually use Trading Economics for this stuff. It's a good website. Africa's Odious Debt. If you saw my library tour for Christmas books, you saw this. This book is, this topic in general is very important. There's a really bizarre statistic that most capital accounts or something like this, 40% of them are stored off of Africa in private accounts, not like public accounts, like by private owners. That's really insane. Yeah, the financial sector in Africa has a lot of problems. Winners Take All, you guys have seen this. Basically a book that's making fun of philanthropists who spend all their money to do philanthropy and end up doing nothing good whatsoever. The Great Divergence, China, Europe, and the Making of the Modern World Economy. This is also, if you disagree with it, sure, you could disagree with it, but it's another good book. Topic's really interesting. Routledge Handbook of Sustainability and Fashion. I don't know if you guys have known this, but there is a trend to do sustainable fashion, to do circular production, basically get into like recycling or getting into products that are either biodegradable or they last longer, and discouraging fast fashion where you buy a bunch of things. So that's this book will go over some of those topics. Urban Economics. This is a textbook that I thought was going to be really cool for understanding how companies operate inside of a city or in like an urban sprawl, an urban environment. And I thought this would give me some competitive advantages to investing that don't necessarily show up on financial statements or sheets. So if you find, I don't know, like there's something about the economics of a particular block design, then you could use that to buy and hold a company for long term because you'll find there's a competitive advantage. Basically any data that you'd probably somebody on Wall Street would have, but not the day traders. The day traders wouldn't be able to go and look at this stuff. People who are on the floor. This would be stuff that you would have to develop over a period of time and come to solid conclusions. So that's why I got this book. Introduction to Econometrics. This was a university textbook. Basically, I guess the econometrics sounds so fancy. Basically, this book will teach you how to measure economic variables. That's all it really is. It's just a methodology book for applied economics. There's nothing too fancy about it. Yeah, and nothing in here is that difficult, to be honest. It's all just like linear algebra. Fully Grown: Why a Stagnant Economy is a Sign of Success. So you've probably seen this book 3 times now. But basically this book argues that stagnation is a good thing. Stagnation being when you have inflation and low GDP growth. Perfect City, an urban fiction's global search for magic in the modern metropolis. So I bought this book in Toronto, and this book is about Toronto. God, that looks hideous, to be honest. I can't believe people look at this and go, that's so beautiful. Looks like somebody threw a ball at like a window and it just shattered. Anyways, this book is about Toronto and goes over like some debate between these two urban planners that was really popular. It goes over different cities. Never mind, it goes over different cities and Toronto was one of them. And I bought this when I was in Toronto. It wasn't that good of a book. I didn't find it that good of a book. Yeah, I found like it was kind of weak. I feel like there was much more potential for this book. It should have been much bigger. It should have been like this big. And he should have went into like a nerdy amount of detail for every city. That's what I was hoping. That's not what I got. I got a lot of anecdotes and like about his work experiences. Macroeconomics, the imperfect competition in non-clearing markets. Yeah, another like macroeconomic book that goes over modeling. This book is actually more like neoliberal, and it makes assumptions, and it assumes that things go according to assumptions. But it's Jean Pascal Bonassi. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but he's a very famous person in macroeconomics. Milton Friedman, Capitalism and Freedom. I don't own all of his books yet. I do want to own all of his books, but I have so many outriders that I want to buy. This is basically, I think this isn't so much focused on economics. I believe this is focused on the relationship between economics and freedom, and how like if you don't have like a free society in terms of economics, that you don't have a free society in terms of politics. So that's what this book is about. Okay, 2 more. Almost done, guys. Paul Krugman, The Accidental Theorist. My girlfriend got me this. I think this is about where like theories go wrong. Yeah, like where economic theories go wrong. And then the last one I got in a bookstore, it's People, Power, and Profits, Progressive Capitalism for an Age of Discontent. What I like about the title of this book, I'm not too sure on the contents, but like progressive capitalism also reminds me of like ethical capitalism and like ethical consumption, and that you have like an obligation to sell your products to people who won't misuse them and stuff like this. Whenever you mention that, a lot of people on the left kind of cringe, and then people on the right go, no, that's not the point of capitalism. The point of capitalism is to be completely blind. I feel like the happy medium is to be ethical about capitalism. I don't know. But that's what I take this book to be, is like changing this notion that capitalism should be used one way rather than another. So that's one shelf of my economics books. With that being said, bye-bye.